Hello everyone. Today I will be showing some of TVP tours from Venus, Florida. People from all around the world travel to meet Jacques Fresco and Roxanne Meadows, to talk to them and to ask them questions. TVP welcomes them every Saturday for more than a 5-hour lecture. This video contains the Jacques Fresco lecture, walking around the buildings and showing off the models, watching a short movie, asking questions, and this one contains personal interviews at the end.
I believe that people reflect their culture. If you were brought up in Australia as a baby, never saw anything else, you'd speak like Australians, or Germany or France. You'd be a little Frenchman. You understand that? I believe environment primarily shapes behavior. I also believe that you don't inherit anything from your parents except the shape of the head, a propensity toward heart disease, maybe, but nothing of a value system. You're not born greedy. There's no such thing as human nature. Human nature is shaped by the culture you live in. If you were brought up in Australia, you might say, "How are you, mate?" You might. If you're brought up in England, you speak like an Englishman, even if you're black or Filipino, no matter what you are. If you're brought up in France, you speak like a Frenchman. So I think environment is a major effector of humans. I believe there's no such thing as a criminal. A criminal is made by the culture he lives in. If you have scarcity, you want things. And I believe that if you made goods available to everybody, to like the public library, you can check out any book without money. As long as you got money in the picture, you're going to have problems with government. And government is not intelligent. George Washington had 300 slaves. If he was alive today, he'd be run out of town. Every president was very stupid. Maybe Benjamin Franklin was okay. The rest of them were very stupid people. Now, don't take my word for it. I want you to ask politicians, Democrats, Republicans, Socialists, whatever. Ask them how you can stop war. I don't know. There's always been war. There'll always be war. And ask them how you can grow more food to feed the hungry. They don't know. Ask them how you can make transportation safer. They don't know. They don't seem to know anything when I ask them questions like that. So don't vote for them. That says, if I'm elected, I'll do this and that. That's what he says, but he may not do that. So I'm telling you, politicians all over the world are the same. They don't know how to solve problems. And if the Egyptians throw out their government, they don't know what to put in place. They really don't. So if you live next door to me, and I see 10 guys coming out of your apartment, we're all brought up to believe that everybody should have a right to their own opinion. Isn't that the way you were brought up? Right. That's very dangerous. If I see 10 guys coming out of your apartment, I can have all kinds of opinions, right? The true answer is I don't know what she does. Is that right? Now, you could be a language instructor, ballet instructor, an art instructor. Since I don't know that, I should not have my own opinion. I don't know. That's my opinion. So I don't believe that people should have a right to their own opinion. They should have access to information, like a laptop. You can get almost any kind of information. I also believe, now this is going to be harder to accept, but give me a chance to explain it. That man cannot think or reason, and you're brought up to believe that the Michelangelo, all these people were able to think. Edison, everybody. We can't think outside of our culture. If you ask an Eskimo, if you can do this, an Eskimo that lives in northern Alaska that never traveled anywhere, say, you can have anything you want, what do you want? He will never ask you for a twin-engine Beechcraft. he will never ask you for a Mercedes because it's outside of his experience. Do you understand what I'm saying? If you were brought up in Africa, if you were, as a baby, and I talk to you about a microscope, you may not know what I'm talking about if you live in the jungle, in the woods. It's nobody's fault. Whatever crime committed by anybody that they picked up from their culture. I know that's hard to believe. There's no such thing as good or bad. All that's made up by man. In the Arab world, it's normal to have 4 wives if you can afford it. But it is not abnormal. If you went to that country and say, what's the matter with you people? You have 4 or 6 wives. Why don't you have 1 wife? You're trying to impose our values on them. That's normal to that culture. The Chinese invented paper, I don't know if you know that, and dynamite. The Chinese put the paper together in pad and tied it together. And they wrote the Chinese characters up and down, not across like we do. And they made a mark in the corner of each page to know what page their writing was on. So, if you happen to grab that pad and move it fast, like that, the mark you made in the corner jumped all over the place. It looked like it jumped all over the place. Nobody ever invented anything. They always got it from nature or saw something that gave them an idea. Now let me try to prove that further. That a human being, when climbing a hill, if he steps on a severe incline, he slips. If he steps on a slight flat, he doesn't slip. So when he climbs a hill, when he's 7 years old, he looks for the flat areas, and he steps on them and gets up the hill. But he doesn't say, I have to make a ladder. I got to invent steps. He can't do that. He can slip, and then he can step on the flats. After he lives there 10 years, and he walks up and down from the cave, the flats become more like this. More like steps, if you live there 10 years. But you never come to a place have to make steps. That's after you're civilized, after you make steps. When he moves, he cuts steps in the new area. But first he steps on the slight flats. That's what experience is. Now if you meet a person that's a creative writer or an artist, and you say, how come you do that creative work? He always says, I don't know. It just comes to me. I've been drawing for years, and I don't know where it comes from. It's inborn. Nothing is inborn. You learn it. He doesn't know how it began. Little kids, you ask them, how do you walk? I don't know, I just walk. I used to crawl, I fell over, then I got up and I walked. So I made a robot, and the robot kept falling over. Because I didn't know what walking was. I said, what is walking? So I don't know. So I got up, like this. I said, how do I walk? And I don't know. But I know this, I have to take the weight off this leg and put it on this leg and head it that way. Then take the weight off this leg and head it that way. You know what I mean? I must take the weight off this leg to move it. And then I built a robot and it didn't fall over. Because I knew what walking meant. Today we don't know what anything means. We just think we walk. But we walk a certain way. And after you have that experience, you can build a better robot. So, man cannot think or reason of anything new. To say somebody had to invent language, no man can invent language unless you had a language to start with. Now, where do you get language from? Well, in school they told me that language was invented to communicate. Well, how can you invent language? If you made a whole series of sounds, no one would know what you're talking about. So where did language come from? When we first saw a lion, we said, oh, oh, and I said, oh, oh. You say, yeah, that's what we get. That's what a lion is. Oh, oh. And if you saw another animal, a giraffe, you do whatever you do. Oh, 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 baba, baba. That's what a giraffe is. So language took many years to come about, and it came from the sounds you made when you saw a strange animal. You said, whatever you said. Do you understand that? No man sat down and said, gotta make a language. He can't do that, does he? Has a language. So all language is made up in different countries in different ways. You can. So here's how Edison made the electric light. He didn't know what different wires would conduct. So he connected 2 electrodes from a battery across the wire, and he ran a current across to see whether the one wire conducts electricity better than another, with less resistance. Well, the more resistance the wire offered, the hotter it got. And when it got red hot, Edison, a line, and he bent it like the letter U. And he put the light on the table, and it fell over and burned some of his papers, and he put a glass over it. That was the first electric light. And when I met Einstein, I was about 17 years old. I said, do you believe in God? He said, which one? I never heard that before. Then I said, well, do you believe in truth? He said, what do you mean by truth? I said, that certain things are a certain way. He said, like what? He wouldn't let me get away with words. He wanted me to describe what I meant by truth. I said, well, that this is smooth, I said. This is smooth. He says, you really believe that, don't you? I said, yes, I do, at that time. And so he put it under a microscope, and he blew it up, and it looked very rough. I said, gee, is that what it's like? He said, no, we cannot see things as they really are. We can only see things as our receptors pick them up. With our receptors, we know there are radio waves moving through this room, but we can't see them. So when a person is unconscious, I don't know what he's talking about. Conscious of what? Bacteria, microbes, microscopic organisms that call themselves higher consciousness people. People that believe there's such a thing as higher consciousness. All of us use the word. We're conscious. We want to be more conscious. There's no such thing as consciousness. We are as conscious as our receptors. We know there are germs on the table, but we can't see them. So we use a microscope. That increases our awareness.
Welcome to this week's seminar. As you can see, we're at the Venus Project. We're doing a tour with them. Roxanne is inside this building showing off the models to the people who are on the tour. And after this, we will go into some other buildings and then go back and have some more lecture with Jacques. And enjoy.
Places like Africa or any place else that they need water. He would build canalways throughout the continent. And this is a system of evaporative water to evaporate on it, and it would separate the brine and the salt, and so you get clean drinking water. You can also divert from this and make recreation areas. But to move both freight, water is the most efficient efficient way, it's not so much the quickest way, but it's the most efficient way in terms of resources to move things. And so shops would, in dry dock, that's the way they build boats today, in dry docks, where they take out the water near oceans or near waterways. They would take out the water and dam it up and then build your structures, generally boats. But he would do this in terms of building structures as well. And he would, then you fill up the dry line, Reagan wanted to use laser weapons, but Jack converts that into something destructive. And it would melt the land into different shapes, different canalways or roadways, and melt it into obsidian, which is very hard. So you don't need people to dig the roadways and do things like that. And he taught me how to do models and technical illustration. I was a very bad artist at the time. And artists equip you for nothing. You can go to school for art and you really equip you for nothing. Go right into the ground. So it really is, but this is Jack's design for a car. It's a long time ago, it's very old. In fact, he made a couple of them. And the history of inventors is really terrible. You know, they would say that this system creates a lot more invention. It really doesn't. It stops a lot of invention. You have to have a lot of money to perpetuate the whole thing. And with marketing and everything else, and then a lot of times you can have all that, and there's competition, and they stop you from putting things out. You know, like the top of the car, they stop steel. Oh, but the thing that's important about this is that you go to the clubhouse and you check out the very finest clubs. You don't want to make things in a society where everybody owns everything. It's all the materials and all the products in the city, and the city itself is, all the resources become the common heritage of all the world's people. So you own everything, it's yours. So you don't want to make something that wears out and breaks down. You don't need to when you don't use money like here. And these are high rises. We think in the future there will probably be no individual homes. But today people like individual homes, so we demonstrated here. But in the future, the high rise has everything you need. Recreation, restaurants, medical care, education. So what this is, we got the section in here that moves very slowly. We got that from NASA Junkyard. And then we put the model on this. And then we put one of Jacques' helicopters or aircraft right here. And we put, in terms of the helicopter, we put a fan underneath it. And then the blades would rotate and the city would be moving very slowly. And it looks like the aircraft is moving, but it's really the city that's moving.
Designed to avoid old mistakes. A vision of efficiency, sustainability, and intelligent planning can lead us into a marvelous new world of unlimited human potential. Designing the future. It could be a showcase of what the world can be in our cybernated age. Science and technology could be used.
Is not sane, nor is it civilized, not yet. Until you can do away with prisons, police, you don't need police if you have access to whatever you want. You understand that? Yes.
What do you think will come after television?
What will happen in television?
After television, yes.
Well, television will have three-dimension movies without glasses. You don't need to wear special glasses. Then after that,
Mr. Fresco, you've talked about the lack of ability to understand each other due to the language. I'm from Spain, and I've studied several languages and become very aware of the inadequacies of the languages. So my question to you is, how do we create a language that we can all understand? Now, I know that mathematics and chemistry is a fixed language, but its symbols and its names are based on language created by man before. So So how do we create a language that we can all use and understand?
So he speaks,
She can hear that.
how do we create a language that we can all use and understand? He speaks several different languages, and he understands the inadequacies of language, and he understands that mathematics is from symbols based on language.
Mathematics, everybody understands the same way. If you lend the country $10 million, they don't say, I think I owe you $3 billion. They all understand what that means. Mathematics, chemistry. When the doctor writes a prescription, no matter what drugstore, any country, they understand what that means. It's not subject to interpretation. Yes.
Do you have a concept of how to apply that to everyday language, though? How you would go about creating something like that, other than mathematics or chemistry, which is basically symbols?
How do you apply that to everyday language other than mathematics, which is based on symbols?
Chemistry, mathematics, engineers, when they talk to each other, it's not subject to interpretation. Engineer doesn't talk that way. He says, the beam in this building has to be this wide. Another engineer says, oh, I think it means that wide. He doesn't do that. Engineering language talks specifically, not subject to interpretation.
Do you want to go over semantics, what it is?
Chemistry is not subject to interpretation. So it's possible to make a language that everybody responds to uniformly. I don't know if you understand that. When you study metallic engineering, they don't say, this is the strongest material. They put it in a machine and twist it. They show you at a certain amount of force, it'll come together. Then they compress it, they pull it apart, and they give you the specs on the behavior. So it's not subject to interpretation. Yes.
Do you think a large percentage of the words we use now would go away because they don't really have specific...
90% of the words we use are bullshit.
Okay.
That's a lot of bad language. So there's no such thing as profanity. So when you say bullshit, it means I can't accept what you're saying. It doesn't mean the shit or the bull. That's right. When a person says, damn it, he's sorry about something happening. The car doesn't
Those
sorry.
ideas, I think, are great ideas, and it's amazing that we haven't gotten there yet. In terms of your experience with
I can't get on the air.
would you say that's all just political, or?
Yeah, well, I was on Larry King, and Larry King said to me, you're very interesting, and you said that cancer sticks of cigarettes. They'll give cancer to anybody that smokes them for 20 years, maybe 10 or 15 years in some cases. But cigarettes always produce cancer or heart disease if you smoke long enough. Why does the government release cigarettes? Because of the tax they collect on it. Do you understand? So the government is not interested in people, they're interested in money. That's why they outsource to China factories, because it's cheaper. But if they love Americans that fought for this country, they'd hire them. They'd hire Americans. They wouldn't outsource to China. No system can freeze and hold that. You can't design the best laptop, and there it is, the best. It's the best laptop we know of up to now. But next year, it'll be smaller, lighter, faster, and do more things. Maybe even scratch your back. But they'll do more and more things as they get smaller. Yes.
We get questions a lot from people talking, saying that the rich people at the top, like the people that own all the factories, wouldn't allow this to happen. What would you say to that, like in the Great Depression with the factory?
What do you say about people saying that the wealthy people won't let this happen, like the Great Depression, the factory you were in?
They will try, but they can't stop machines from coming into France. As long as they do that, and you don't have the purchasing power, you can't even buy the products they produce. So the system comes to an end. You don't need to worry about it.
But
Jacques, the example that you give sometime about Berliner aircraft...
Henry Berliner had an airplane factory, and he had very bad business. I went to see him, and the government came over and said, we're going to take your factory away. He said, why? Because you haven't paid taxes for 3 years on all your equipment. He says, I have no orders for airplanes. Take the goddamn factory. When you have a factory that has no orders, you can't even send your factory. Do you understand what I mean? So it will take a goddamn factory. If a factory isn't making money, it's of no use to the owners. And that's what's going to happen. You don't need to shoot anybody or have a revolution. You don't need that. They'll die of their own inefficiency. But there'll be a lot of suffering, and that's what I'm trying to avoid. To be able to talk to people about a resource-based economy. It's non-political. We have no politicians. We have machines connected to agriculture that goes into the soil. If the water table drops, the machine pumps water out there. You don't need a human doing that. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when you leave here, it'll be very different than when you came in. How many of you learned something today? Okay, so you'll be very different when you walk out or try to talk to people. If a person says, well, this guy said he was head of the Klan. He said, Fresco, you're a smart guy. What do you think of the Ku Klux Klan? I said, it's a great organization, but it doesn't go far enough. That gets us here. If you attack, you lose it. Do you understand what that means? If a person says, let's get rid of all the foreigners, I said, that's a great idea, but it doesn't go far enough. And then tell them about it. Always agree. Don't say the Klan is ugly. They kill and lynch people for nothing. Don't do that, because you lose the communication. Always, whatever person, that's a great idea, but it doesn't go far enough. If it gets there, what do you mean? Do you understand? Okay. Any other questions?
All right, so we had a good tour today. It was a small group, but they seemed to have some really interesting questions. They seemed to have a very good grasp of the Venus Project. They came with a lot of forethought, a lot of knowledge, and actually, usually there's a lot more questions. There were very few questions today, so it was nice that we had a group that was very well informed. Didn't have to cover a lot of ground that you have to with other folks who are brand new to it. And just overall a very good experience. A bit hot and muggy out today, not the most comfortable of days, but the tour went really well.
How much exposure did you have to the Venus Project?
Actually, I basically had some friends telling me about it, and I saw a few of the videos and just some of the designs. Mm-hmm. But I basically had friends around me, like I had my coworker who was talking to me about it, and I remembered another coworker, previous coworker, telling me about it. And again, remember looking at the designs and just sort of the concepts and what it means. And a lot of it just, to me, it always felt like this just makes sense. Why aren't we doing this? Yeah. I don't understand. Which is why a lot of the questions were more about, well, how would you deal, for me, like how would we deal with the politics around that, and why isn't this, or why can't we get a home built like that? Mm-hmm. Or why can't we get a makeshift city, or why can't we get the wealth of the country to buy into, let's say, a project on that, just to try it at least. And, so I mean, it's still some of what I think about, what stands out for me, and but just also the way of thinking. I think it for me it agrees with a lot of what I've learned throughout my life, and kind of what I see, where I don't try to get worked up on things at face value and just look behind what you're seeing at face value, which a lot of people just don't. And I guess I've learned that people naturally just don't. And
I think a lot of it has to do with like not relevant education as they're growing up, and not having time. There's people who don't even have time to come to this tour, because of their busy lives and having to sustain themselves. So that's a tough thing.
Well, and that buys into a lot of what he was saying, and stuff again that I've thought of myself, where we're set up in a system where, okay, you have to get up in the morning and you got to go to work. Mm-hmm. And, no one wants to do it. We're all forced to do it. Why? Because, well, we want to be able to buy these nice things. Right. Well, why do we want to buy these nice things? Well, because the TV shows and the other kids got it, and, And it's this whole self-perpetuating system where everyone's stuck in the role they've been thrown in.
I was informed about a lot of things that I was unaware of. Unlike watching videos, things like that, I don't think it really adds up to what you experience here in person. And I feel that it's very important to experience something like this. You know, I feel like the fate of humanity actually lies here.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I mean,
What about, like, how about your knowledge of this type of information before you came today, and then, like, maybe your knowledge now? Like, has there been there's not a quantum leap, I imagine, but maybe there is, I don't know.
no, well, I mean, a lot of things I already knew a lot about.
Yeah.
But still, even with watching all the videos, things like that, I was still informed about things I was unaware of, and Jacques answered all of my questions. So, yeah.
But it's basically Jacques time, it's Jacques squared, because he's going faster. He's speaking to groups that he's been talking to for months, if not years. So he talks at the next level. Here he's talking one-on-one type of stuff,
Yeah.
And he has to assume that everybody's brand new, so he's talking the basics of everything. But he goes into much more depth about specific things, and it's really, really interesting.
Thanks to Jacques and Roxanne for hosting me today here at the Venus Project Tour. Very enjoyable, very educational. The Venus Project's got a Kickstarter campaign on right now, which I've donated to, and I would encourage you to do the same. It's a great cause.
We came from Mississippi to the Venus Project, and we were shocked and surprised by all the exciting information that we received and how we were made welcome here. And we believe in this project very, very much. We hope that this can be implemented, because without it there's not much hope for humanity, really. And we are thankful to have to be able to come here.
These are great ideas, and it's a great future plan, and hope it will get started and that we can spread it out more and more, and that's our hope to do.
Hi, I'm Roxanne Meadows, and we're here at the Venus Project after the Venus Project tour. Every Saturday we hold the tour at 1 o'clock. We invite you to come. Jacques speaks for many hours, and then I show people around and show you the models and describe the buildings. And we take questions, we show you a short video, and show you many things. We think you'll get a lot out of it. It's more than just looking at a video. It's much more comprehensive. So go to our website under tours and write to the email address there, and there's just a few simple questions to fill out, and we will put you on the list. We hope to see you soon. Thanks.